This is behind the making for the Instant Transmission Kamehameha or Kamehameha super attack. So I'll be discussing more about my process in flip clip animation for the super attack. Starting with the amount of frames I used for individual assets. For this one, this is the first part of the super attack. Going up, Goku, setting up the Kamehameha into the transmission, which is roughly around 58 individual assets that I reused during this super attack, and approximately 200 frames for the animation in total. Starting with this first segment of Goku flying up, I copied and pasted, if I can find it, the clouds here, right? Copy right here, and then pasted it a bunch while like adjusting the size. So here we go. Adjust it to your style. Copy. So I have like a general sense of where the previous position was. Move it down. Add another frame down, and then bam. Although this one's not as clean, because you know, that was just made up, but so to give the illusion that the background is moving. For the character asset, each with their own separate layers, 3 layers. I highly recommend one for like the character asset, one dedicated to like the background, and one dedicated to like enemy sprite and or effects. The effects overlapped either the enemy sprite layer or the character layer, but there will be a lot of overlapping since it's only 3 layers that I have to work with, and I'm not gonna really go for premium stuff, since you can also do all of this in Flash in the custom SA education server, which I'll link down in the description below, where you'll learn more about Dokkan animation using Flash that you could most likely put in game, since flip the clip, as far as I know, it's just concept super attacks and not things you can put in game. So it fits more of my style, more of having that free will. So continuing on, the aura. I just made the aura flip back and forth like this. Pretty straightforward. Adjusting it accordingly to where Goku is, and this one I simply adjusted this middle point where it would be like translated, and blah. Just move that or whatever, like this, extend, all that good stuff. Which led to this part, which I could have made a bit smoother, though it only had 2 layers with the clouds moving. Very straightforward with how the clouds move, just turning this. Remember to at least copy the first main image like this. That way you'll have like the full asset, so you won't have to worry about like some weird cuts in between. And then up here, I did more of a Dokkan style theme here, with like, you know, it transitioning like that. I forgot the fade, yeah, fading in into Goku. Aura, I made 3 separate assets for it, and just kept playing the animation. Manually doing each aura frame was kind of painful. It's just a lot of, well, I wouldn't say it's painful, it's just a lot of manual work, as well as adjusting the background, since I have to do that manually as well, unless there's a way to, you know, make it more convenient with a video editor, of course. You could probably do that with a green screen, maybe. There's various video editors that have the feature of a green screen, which I made the background, my own background with it, as you can see, with all each individual details, although I only use like this section. There's a lot with it. I don't know if I'll use it again, but that's what I have. And then the bone animation, or the skeletal movement section, where I had to use what I knew about like layers. So that's, at this point, after doing multiple edited super attacks, I got more used to how I should use layers for Dokkan super attacks to their fullest potential. Which, you know, bam. 2 layers for the leg and the arm, and Goku's head, and the front arm, which is the right arm. Each with their own individual assets. Also forgot to mention, I also did some like use flipper clip transitions, mostly just smearing or smudges in the animation to give that hand movement instant change to that close-up. Then here, aura loop, basically. Or if you want to loop something, like let's say you make a loop, this is like a 3-layer loop, 3-frame loop. So I just bam, 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 and just copy pasted using these 2 down here. That way it makes it more easier, so I can save a lot of time. Instant transmission, first I use like my own blurred instant transmission, and then I decrease the opacity by 50%, I believe, using the eraser tool. Here, it was the standard loop that I did, using lots of effects. The individual assets of these smoke effect, cartoonish. I believe they're just these assets, and I just kept, you know, piling, copy and pasting over them. That way I was given the illusion of smoke and stuff, which nice. And then the Kamehameha here, just, you know, standard transition that was happening in the anime, using a lot of the speed lines that I made using flipper clip. And then the Kamehameha effect, which I made sure to include some aspects that the instant transmission Kamehameha had, which is these circles, and that way this happens. One small detail that I didn't notice was that I completely forgot about the ground, and so I can make that readjustment. Well, I could, maybe. Now that I think about it, I could have simply copied this. Bam. Let's say I move the assets and stuff, and then I would copy like this. They copy over it like that. Easy fix. Probably have to make sure a key tip that you want is that every time you make a new layer or frame with different usage of the assets that you have, that you make sure you include it to like your asset pool. That way you don't, you know, have like multiple images composited or with each other. So like here, you know, I could have made the Kamehameha effect separate, the cell sprite separate, though I think I had the spell sprite separated already, the clouds separated, and the ground separated. And this is just the first half of the super attack. And now let's get to the explosive impact. Now I'm here with the explosion effect. Sadly, I didn't have any impact frames here. I feel like that would have been a lot helpful, just having impact frames of the explosion. But to see how I've done this, well, 3 loop frame aura, explosion, 1, 2, 3 in post, and then just some extra ones for the back, which I would do later in the beginning, so it looks like the explosion is collecting it. So while I was just adding these lines, I forgot what they're called, but yeah, it's just those extra lines to give it more of that special explosion effect, which I think was done nicely. So, like previously mentioned, 3-layer loop with the Goku sprite here, very simplistic, you know. I made sure to keep the Kamehameha effect separate. If there's a main effect that you want to focus on, which for this one, I was mainly focused on the Kamehameha effect, because I was really emphasizing that. I would put it on a separate layer while I loop like the previous layers. That way I could give that direct effect, or that focus right there. To the explosion shaking, I just expanded the frame a bit, enlarged it, so I can shake it around. Yeah, there's some errors here and there, but it's alright. With the explosion, I made sure, so at least for the first one, made sure I covered the second layer, and then I just added everything on the third layer. I completely forgot about the second layer, although I think it was fine because it still delivered the same effect that I would have done regardless, which I think fit quite well. And now for the KO screen loop. For the KO screen loop, I use various things. I made my own smoke background. Didn't really, I mean, I think I did trace, well, I don't remember. But I just made my own background smoke effect so that it was able to loop perfectly. Right here, so first layer here, perfect loop. Well, almost a decent loop at least. And here, a good loop as well. Some of the black particles to give it more of that effect, because I think it was also in the anime as well. So I just made my own effect, and I think that really delivered it as well. Over Goku, or I think it was under, yeah, behind Goku, and put some in front of him as well. Then Goku assets with moving the head back and forth, copy, same thing as before, copy, moved, and then paste, copy, move, paste, etc. You could copy the previous pasting that you've done as well. I don't know if that made sense, but that's alright. And for the mouth moving, I just made sure I followed Goku's mouth, and then moved it like this. Just a small bit though. That way you could make it seem like he was breathing. Which was the mistake here, was that I made him move his head down too fast and his mouth maybe too wide. So it didn't give that good tired look, I suppose. Exhausted status. And that's really about almost everything. I also made these assets too, for it to loop in down here. Yeah, and so since I did not draw like the full body asset, only just did partially. But regardless, I think it turned out pretty well. And that's about all I have to, at least behind the making, for Instant Transmission Kamehameha. It was a super attack that I wanted to do really badly. I believe it took around like 2 days, so around like 48 hours worth of time, maybe. I'll have to recheck. But regardless, I was really happy with it. And I hope this helps more if you decide to pursue flip or clip animation for Dokkan super attacks. But, as mentioned before, custom SA education server link will teach you about various things from After Effects, where you can buy Adobe stuff, applications. You can do Flash animation as well. I highly recommend doing Flash animation. You'll have a more, I suppose, easier time, since you will have the options to tween and stuff, moving it, and you can just readjust it later. Saves a lot more time as well, so you don't have to do it manually on Flip Clip. So, with that, I hope you enjoyed, and this was behind the making for Instant Transmission Kamehameha Super Attack. In summary, these are all the things that I've talked about for this behind the making. I hope it gives a better understanding of how I go through my animation process, as it's different from Dokkan. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this behind the making.